Hello again, everybody. We are going to go ahead and throw in these freeze plugs, and we'll kind of do a little experimentation. One side we are going to use blue Loctite, and the other side we will use silicone. I think either of them should work just fine, but you know, for the sake of trying something different on both sides, we'll do one side with blue Loctite and the other side with the small film of silicone. You can use anything of your pleasure to drive these freeze plugs into the bore. I have got a cam bearing, or not a cam bearing, a bearing and race tool here, I guess is what they call that. It's a driver set. And this one here fits right down in the cup. Just got a little bit of play. The other side's just a little bit on the large, so I don't think I'll get down very far past the taper, because I think we want to try to get this front edge here right at the top edge of that taper. So that way it's just kind of recessed in there just enough, make sure it's got full contact on the whole sealing surface. Brass is obviously kind of nice because it won't corrode like steel. So in this particular instance, you cannot use the bolt that holds the tool together, because obviously then it's going to be hitting the freeze plug and you won't be able to use it as a driver. So we'll shoot for using this one first, see how that rolls. There we go. And this is a Loctite paste, which I usually use just a liquid Loctite. So I'm going to use my finger and just spread around a nice thin coat, hopefully, without trying to get it too gobbed on here. So we don't want to get too carried away with it. And, you know, try to keep it kind of nice and presentable. But just make sure you get all the way around. Give it a nice thin coat. I've had some people tell me you don't have to put anything on these. These will seal up just fine without any assistance. But when you get them clear back in the car, you've got a motor mount in the way of both of these. That one will be exposed on the opposite side, or is it on this side? This side might be the starter side, actually. So then you'll have a starter in the way on this one, which starter's not too hard to take out of the way. You could replace that one if it leaked. These two, you got to jack the engine up, take the motor mount out of the way, and then you've also got your member that the motor mount connects to. So it's not going to be super easy to replace either of those when it's back in the car. Yeah, they make fancy freeze plug tools where they got angles on the ends of the tool, so that way you can kind of reach around corners to try to drive them in a little easier. But by far, this is way simpler to be able to do these out of the vehicle than in. In a pinch, yeah, you absolutely can. You can probably fight it for quite a while, but you'll eventually get it done. We're using this driver tool here. I got my thin coat of sealer all the way around. I am going to try to put these in an orientation where they look pretty and presentable, like anybody's ever going to see these things. I'm going to try to put these in where the letters are facing down. And then we will take, I just use a dead blow with these, especially when you don't have the bolt in. Try to eyeball it as level as possible. You'll feel it start to go in, and just try to eyeball it and level it up the best you can. Don't try to get too carried away and go too far, and that looks like that should work. Now, if you feel like you might drive it too far, you can always flip it over. It will catch the taper of this core plug and prevent you from going too far on a hit, and then you can kind of finesse it in from there. So we'll go back here and do the same thing again. Let's get our ultra thin coat of blue thread locker paste. Like I said, I normally use the liquid. Liquid's a little easier to work with. I mean, this stuff is still the same stuff. It'll still work. But just go around on the whole side of that. Of course, then you gotta sit there and rotate it on your fingers so you can see the other side. Just make sure you're all the way around. Okay? Got that taken care of. And we will try to figure out our orientation here without dropping the plug. Set that down in there. Try to make it look all pretty. And then we will grab our tool and we will use it that way this time for another demonstration. Just try to center it up the best you can. And then just give it a couple of taps. Tops went in, bottoms in, and we can sit there and kind of finesse it around and make sure we're getting her kind of in place and leveled out. And that one looks good. Real simple. Not a lot of effort put into these. Goes pretty quick. One more around here, and then these three will be in and good to go. Okay, got that one set in there, all nice and orientated. And just because that worked out a little bit better, we'll go this way again. Not bad. Looks like we got that one down. Get this other edge down just a little more. Okay. That looks beautiful. That actually worked out better. That way it gave me a little more control over it. I started hitting the taper before it got too far. That one is down just a little bit lower than the rest of them, but should be fine. That gave me a little better control. You can also totally use a socket. There's nothing wrong with that. If you got an old beat up socket, or even if you don't have a beat up socket, just find you a socket. Fits in there, you know, fairly snug. This particular one looks like 1 inch. You could probably get a metric, might fit in there a little bit better. You'll end up leaving a little bit of a mark down in there, but it's nothing, no big deal. But you could totally use a socket to sit there and drive those in as well. Now I did clean out these bores here ahead of time, probably in one of my other videos, and if I didn't video it, Scotch-Brite pad. Doesn't take a lot of effort, just stick it in there, go around the bore, make sure it's cleaned out, don't have any trash, debris or anything. This cleans it up really well. You could get in there with a smaller wire brush on a drill and just kind of spin it around in there a couple of times. That'd probably clean it out too, but this works just fine. If you did have a little rust buildup, like if you had a freeze plug that was completely rusted out on this thing and you had a hell of a time getting the larger lip of it out of there, and it was just crusty and barnacle-y. I mean, you could get in there and scratch it and just try to get all the heavier material off, then go back over it with this, and you shouldn't have any issue. But if your surface area was pitted real bad, that is the reason why it's okay to go ahead and put a little sealer on it, because that will fill in those imperfections as you're driving it in and help create a better seal for the freeze plug. If they're a perfect bore and there's nothing wrong with them, I'm sure you could drive them in dry and they wouldn't have an issue either. I'm sure at some point in the past I probably have put them in dry. Machine shop probably puts them in dry for all I know. But I think anyway, whether you use thread lock type sealer, I don't know if I'd use red, that's a little overkill. Blue's plenty fine. You probably could use an anaerobic flange sealant. I don't know why you couldn't use that. I believe that stuff is water resistant, oil resistant, gas resistant, so that would probably work too. Silicone obviously would work. But yeah, that's simple, no big deal. We'll reset here and then get you on the other side. Ultra black Permatex silicone this time. Just a super thin coat. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just make sure you got enough all the way around. Nice good coat all the way around. And then I will set it right there on the center-ish part of it. Try to get it set up where you feel like it is being driven straight. Let's give it a good swing. Then check your lip and see if it is down as far as you want it to go. Slide your tool to where you can catch the edge of it. That looks good. And go a little bit further there on that side. Do the same thing on the other. Alright, cool. And repeat once again. All the way around. Just like last time. Now, let's that's set right for the correct orientation. Set her down. Clean off the digits. Back to the driving tool again. Get it somewhat centered up. Couple of taps. She's moving. She's getting there. And I think that's it. And maybe just a touch right there. Once you get it down in the bore, it doesn't take much to make a correction. If you get just a little cattywampus in there, it doesn't take a lot of effort to get it straightened back out. I don't know if I've ever driven one in too far that I have had to knock it the rest of the way in, but they're not that hard to pull back out. Go ahead and drive it into the bore, turn it to where you get close to the center, grab it with a pair of pliers, and you should be able to kind of just glide it out. I don't think you'd have a problem reusing it as long as you didn't mess up your surface too bad. Just kind of have to play it by ear. If you mess one up, you might be able to find another single one somewhere. Most of the parts stores used to carry these things years and years and years ago, but I don't know how many of them do anymore. I had the privilege of working in the aftermarket automotive, 20 years ago now? And I still remember people coming in asking for individual freeze plugs. They'd have one blow out or rot out. They didn't want to pay for a whole set. Just wanted to get it back on the road. Pretty good. She's going in. Almost. Maybe a little bit to the top here. Okay. I think that's it. Yep. That's good. So that is all it takes. Not a lot of effort, not a lot of time. Easy to do when it's out of the vehicle. Upside down, a puddle of antifreeze that's leaking out all over the ground. That would probably be a little harder. Like I said, I don't think you can go wrong either way. Silicone on one side, antifreeze, or not antifreeze, silicone on one side, Loctite on the other. I think both of them are very good. I don't think you'll have a problem with either of them. So we'll call the video done for now. Get back to it, and we'll get back with you here when we hit our next milestone. Thanks for watching.